building grand, which is et.com.
We're live?
We're giving Scott his time.
Okay.
Time.
Don't need time. Anyhow, I am Scott Elwell here with Lindsay Potter, co-host of Building Greenwich.
Welcome, everyone.
Hello. And we're here with Brooke Shepard of Monogram Mary.
Brooke Shepard. Her name is Brooke.
Brooke.
And she owns a company called Monogram Mary.
So she's not Mary.
But her name is Brooke.
Okay.
Everyone thinks that her
Very
name
confusing.
is Mary.
And it's a Greenwich company, Greenwich origins, and you're national and all that fun stuff. But
I know. I did see this morning you were on the Tamron Hall show. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, I know we have a lot of big deal moments that we get
so
to
you're
talk
on
about.
that, but you're nervous about today?
I wasn't personally on it.
The business was on
That's my
it.
picture.
They're experts. They're nervous about what you guys are producing.
No, but Brooke has a shop now in downtown Old Greenwich, right above the eyeglasses place. I don't know what that's called.
Yeah.
What's the eyeglasses place called? I don't know. Right under. Can you drive as soon as you drive into Old Greenwich?
7 Sound Beach.
Right, 177 Sound Beach. As soon as you drive into Old Greenwich on Sound Beach Avenue, her studio is right on the right upstairs. And
Across from what? Like, what are the big?
But I
what are the
really
big
should
families?
know this, you guys, because I should support the people.
right. Well, it's an eyeglasses place. I didn't know that much. Yeah, we'll get them on. But you're next door to. There's like a little archway, and you're next door to the wellness place.
Yeah.
And what is
So
that called?
actually, when you come into Old Greenwich, I'm right on the right side, and there's an eyeglass studio, and there's this really cute little
a little park.
Yeah, a little party, and the
Green.
Well, which is a wellness center owned by Nina Baker's right underneath me, and in my building, I have a lot of women-owned businesses. Is Ginny, who is a great interior designer. And then we have Abby Fox and, Garden Catering. And it's just I love being down in Old Greenwich. I think one of the things that Old Greenwich hasn't lost is the family-owned businesses. And
Yes.
that's something we've seen over time on Greenwich Avenue. That's
Yes.
sort of sad in a way. So I hope that we continue to build up these family-owned businesses in Old Greenwich because it's a really special place to be.
It really is. And it's the other, what do we call it?
It's the other downtown.
The other downtown, but the type of shopping area that.
Discretionary.
Discretionary. We have two discretionary shopping areas in town. We have Greenwich Avenue, and then we have Sound Beach Avenue. Because Costco doesn't have a necessarily like concrete discretionary shopping area. It's getting there.
Yeah.
But there's not one street. It's kind of, it's in one area, but there's not
Right.
this one street where everything is located.
Well,
It's
and
on the post road.
As I like to describe, you have the discretionary downtown. Greenwich Avenue is obviously discretionary.
Right.
I can't afford to go there anymore.
No, most people.
And then downtown Old Greenwich, which is discretionary with a completely different vibe.
Right.
Connected by the post road, which is non-discretionary.
Yeah.
So grocery stores, gas stations.
and Costco is building.
We have the same thing in Riverside where
Right.
we have the Riverside Shopping Center.
Right, exactly. And then you have little places.
Yeah.
Well, you had Ada's, the lacrosse shop.
Ada's is coming back, right?
What?
I think Ada's is under new ownership.
Oh, under new, yeah.
Yeah. My understanding is that it's under new ownership and it's coming back, but I don't.
Wow.
If somebody knows, please.
As Roost. Interesting. Well, we'll see.
No.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
As
it's a
something
different
else.
group.
Different owners. Right. Got it. Okay. Well, Brooke, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. We both were very excited to talk to you, especially because I know Scott's wife, Megan, is a huge fan of Monogram Mary. I have been your biggest fan since day one when you started this because I've known Brooke. You might not know this, but I've known Brooke for a very long time. When I first moved back to Greenwich,
You were in my wedding.
I was in her wedding. Seth actually
Bridesmaid.
married
Oh, yeah.
she and Kyle.
my
My
favorite
husband
fact.
married her and her husband. I've known Kyle, your husband, since he grew up here with my brother, his age, and so we've known each other a long time. But when I first moved back to Greenwich in my late 20s, and I got this job with the brand Lululemon, and I did not want to live in Greenwich at the time. I was swinging single, 28 years old. Like, I don't want to be here. All of my friends were married. Get me out of here. But then I got this really great job with this company that was coming into the States at the time. It was 2008. And a mutual friend of ours said, oh, you have to meet my friend Brooke because I needed to hire a team. You have to meet my friend Brooke. She just moved out of the city. She was in the world of fashion, but I think that she's like not working right now or is looking. And we met and we became instant besties, and we worked together and ran the business together for 4 years. I think we built the Greenwich business to be profitable in under a year. I'm very proud of us. That store on Greenwich Avenue was like, we got to create the culture around it, and it was the best experience.
Their first store?
That was their second store on the East Coast. So they had the Lincoln Center store was their first on the East Coast. They had 6 at the time in 2008 on the West Coast, and then Greenwich was the second. And we were kind of like a training ground because in the 4 years that we were there, they opened, I mean, how many stores did we open? You went and ran the Hampton store, East Hampton, right? So we would basically train managers and they would take them to run other stores. And it was a great experience. We had the privilege of building community in the wellness space in our town. So
we'd wear these shirts that say, ask us what we're doing right now, because we were at work working out.
Yeah.
Working out. So we built friendships and relationships with every studio owner.
And not only build community, but what was really cool was like make relationships with these studio owners to get them excited about the brand, and they'd become ambassadors.
Right.
So, and it also, the best part I thought was that they really, which I think about now a lot in my business, is that they really wanted you to put yourself in sort of an uncomfortable situation, like try something new, like go try like hanging from the ceiling in those yoga things,
right?
Or like
silks,
boxing, or
with Lululemon.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
yes.
like and they, with all the Lulu gear on, and when I look back at the things that I learned from that, and I really think about how I put myself in these uncomfortable situations and tried something new, and it always me to keep doing more things like
new and different.
And we'll dive into your social media.
Yeah, the magic comes when you're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, and like you don't think about it as you're doing it. What's really teaching you,
right?
But I say that all the time about playing sports. Like, when I played sports in college and high school, I didn't realize that it's exactly like real life. Like I got on this team with these girls in college and I was petrified of them. They were like not my friends that I was on this team with all high school. I had to learn how to play a sport I loved with them. And when I got my first job, it was the same thing. Like I got this job with not my friends, and I had to learn how to work with people that maybe we weren't going to be great friends, but we had to work together. So I think there's a lot of lessons. And
oh yeah, especially I think like an athlete and am a coach. And I think that so much of it stems from the experiences we had out there on the field with a team. Well, so your background before you came to this town, before the Lulu days, before Monogram Mary, was in fashion, correct?
Yeah.
And I know that you spent a lot of time overseas.
Yeah.
You did a lot of design work, which is now coming out in your business, which I love and can't wait.
Give us a quick play to play from
So quickly, college. So I got out of school and I got really lucky. I kept applying for jobs and they kept telling me, oh, you need experience. And I remember it was like the end of the summer. I'd like really done so many interviews and I was just so burnt out. And I just said, the lady said, you really need some more experience. And I was like, how am I going to get experience if no one gives it to me? I literally like freaked out on this woman. And I left and I was like, there's no way I'm ever getting hired. And I'm giving hope. And she called me and said, you know what? I'm going to give you some experience. So I got really lucky. She was my favorite boss of all time because she taught me so much about being a good leader. And I got to start traveling at a very young age in the industry where usually, you take a couple of years. So I got to go all over Europe. We'd usually do like London, Milan, Paris, and then there would be the it city, like say embroidery was something that was coming in. So maybe you'd go to Istanbul and look at some of the embroidery they were doing or whatever was inspired in that time. And then we'd go over to Hong Kong and India and make the product. And every time I went overseas, I would try to take a couple days on the other side because I'm like, when am I going to be in India?
Right.
So I would go to the Seychelles and like you'd only see people over there. But through all of this, I just met so many people and I continue to try to learn, even if I wasn't like trying to learn. I wasn't, master in fabric, like you said. I tried to learn about fabric when I was overseas. I tried to learn. I'd ask questions. I constantly put myself out there to learn other things. And I think that's what ultimately helped me. Then, I came to work with you at Lululemon. I learned about business management and, putting yourself out there and being afraid. And so all of those sort of complied together when I decided that I wanted to start my own business. And I loved monograms my whole life.
When I first met you and I had met an old friend of yours, he said, Brooke has had this dream since we were how old? Like 16, 17?
Yeah.
A lot of it came from your grandmother.
Yes.
A lot of it was inspired by, she was an artist.
Yeah.
And she loved keepsakes, right?
Yeah. And so, well, yeah. And it's funny that you say that because he actually took me to buy a monogram machine when we were in college. And I was like, there's no way I'm never going to do it on my own. Like, and I think a lot about that a lot because I should have taken it. But yeah, it was from my grandmother. And really the women that I love is that my grandmother, when I started thinking about what I wanted to do, I thought about that feeling I got when my grandmother gave me a gift. And it was that she really took the time to think of me and think about something that I was into, whether it was like, I don't know, pineapples and kangaroos. Like she would she would hand stitch everything. So she made clothes, she'd make, all monogram jewelry. She really would take the time that you knew that she had to make it. And that feeling of when she gave it to you, you knew that she took time to think of you. And I thought when I got married, I'm like, wow, like I had all these pots and pans and I'm like it's that art of giving has kind of been lost a little bit. There's Amazon, there's this immediate like have to have, and it's not that thoughtfulness of giving something that you really thought about and make them feel special. And that was really like I say to people a lot when I started the brand, I don't want to be LL Bean. Like, I don't want to just put a name on your bag. I want to make you bags that when you think of it, you're like, I was on this trip with Lindsay and this bag brings me back to that trip because we were together and that was really special to me.
Evokes an emotion and a memory.
Yeah, like keepsake and a memory.
What was your first product?
Oh, gosh.
Like, what was your first product and then what started to take off?
Well, honestly, I bought the machine and I really started as a service. So I bought the machine. I really didn't know what was to do.
I remember that box in your garage.
This huge crate came. It was enormous. And it was really in my garage for a long period of time. And because I was in the industry, somebody reached out to me and said, Brooke, I heard you bought a monogram machine. Can you do our monogramming, like here at Ralph Lauren? And I thought, yeah, sure. And I had just watched this episode of Richard Branson saying, like, if you don't actually know what to do, just like say yes to an opportunity and figure it out. So like I get to the meeting, I had not even opened the box or like tried the monogram machine. And I get to the meeting, they give this huge, like piece of paper or a piece of cloth with all these monograms. Like, this is what we offer. And this is what we like. I was like, well, it's on there. So like, clearly I can do it. Like, I'm like, I could definitely do that. And they hand me this $600 duvet cover. My husband's like, you're really going to try your first product with this comforter for $600? Like, you're going to be in the red fast, right?
Let's get to Target to try a couple duvets that are a tenth of
and then from there, like, the stores kept finding out about me. And so we were at about 38 different stores that we were really like the service. And as doing those stores taught me a lot too. It taught me about what people were asking me for and what stores didn't have. And I started to think about that and like what, where I could like find this empty space.
Filling the holes, yeah.
And, I'd go to some of the stores and be like, hey, a lot of people ask me for bibs. Do you guys want to make these? And they'd be like, no, like, this is our market and blah, blah, blah. So when I started, sadly in the pandemic, everyone went online. And that's when I started to really sit and think about like, okay, maybe I should start my own website with my own products now, because what was happening was, so right before the pandemic, I started ordering some wholesale products and like boat bags and hats and things like that. So that was buying from somebody and monogramming them. And then in the pandemic, a lot of these places started buying monogram machines and they were offering monogramming. So I was like, oh, like if you get a gift from somebody that's monogram, as much as I wrapped it up in Monogram Mary paper, I realized like, oh, you're going to go to the tag in this to find out where to buy it, because I'm a primarily gifting business. So I'm basically like pushing sales to all these websites.
Someone else's business, yeah.
So talk about relationships. The pandemic ends, and I had made a very great relationship with a lot of the factories overseas, and we kept in touch over the years. Because like when you were over there, like you were really working. You were there. You were going to work from like 8 a.m. to all hours of the night. Right. So you became close with these people, and so one of the guys that I worked with we had a joke. He wanted to learn English, and I wanted to learn the words that the factory owners were saying about, maybe blonde-haired girls or anybody that was in their factory. Yeah. So over years, I taught him some English words, and he taught me, some Hindu words. And
so where was the factory?
In India.
Where in India?
New Delhi.
Okay.
And so years later, he comes to the United States. He's the American dream. He's working in the fabric room, and he comes to my studio, and he's like, his kids now go to school in America. He's awesome. Like, really the American dream. We kept in touch all these years, and he looks at me and says, I'm so proud of you for starting this, but why aren't you using your skill set? And I said, well, it's really hard to make and produce things overseas because there's you have to have a lot of units. So say you made one jacket, you'd have to, 300 to 500 units in one color. So
and one size. So, production's hard to start. So he said, we've been friends for so long. I want to help you get this started. You can start using my sample room. Like, let's go, Brooke. Like, I believe in you.
Yeah.
And
all it takes is one person giving you the opportunity, going back to your first job and now this.
And keeping those relationships, which I tell my kids all the time. You're always going to be on the other side with someone again. Like, here he was. I was his boss in India where, he worked in the fabric room. And now, we working together. And
you just never know. Don't burn any bridge. You never know. And business is so much about relationship building, if not everything. And kindness.
It's easier.
It really is.
Sharing kindness. And that's where, I think a lot of my business has been so successful is I don't do things to expect things in return.
Right.
I do them because I feel like it's a part of being a business owner is giving back to your community, building up your community, helping the people that you see in the grocery store that might necessarily not be your friends. I shared with you this really cool experience I just had. I'm on the board of the Stanford Hospital. Again, I started volunteering in my community even before I had kids because I wanted to be a part of helping other people in the community. Hopefully we never end up in there. But, anyway, on Mother's Day, I called up a few of my friends' little girls, and I said, I called over at the NICU, and I said, how many moms are in the NICU? And we went and made a bunch of bags and filled them with things we thought they would like. And, we went over and dropped them off, and I said to the girls, it's important to remember that on holidays, not to be morbid, but that not everyone is celebrating happiness, and that some holidays can be hard for other people. But that we can celebrate them, and you can still celebrate them. So we drop these things off, and no one's ever we do this every year, but no one's ever figured out who we are because we do it just as an act of random kindness.
Right.
So I got this note the other day from a woman that figured out who we were, and she went on to tell this beautiful story how the hospital saved her and her child's life, and that this bag meant so much to her. And it really was amazing to hear the impact that your kindness can.
And it has a ripple effect because she won't forget that. I mean, I know that you and I both had children in the NICU, so I do know what that feels like. It's a really scary experience. It's the unknown. It was my first. It was Crosby was your second.
Yeah.
And you're scared and you don't know. No one tells you. There's no rule book for that. So that really was. And thank you for sharing that story because I love that you guys do that, and I love that you got the kids involved.
Yeah. And then a lot of my work. I do a lot of work with my friend Emily at Endeavor Farms, which she helps.
Endeavor.
Okay. It's she helps kids with autism, veterans, and also she's recently, and I'm actually going into the women's prison in Bedford Hills, where she brings the horses to help women.
Animals, therapy animals. Wow,
the
awesome.
Horses and the therapy and. Anyway, so I took these young kids wanted to do a lemonade stand in town. I said, okay, well, we can do it for the farm, but we have to go to the farm and we have to learn about what they're doing so that when you talk about it, people ask, because this is something I talk about a lot in business is that you're asked a lot to give, for school, this and that. And I always say to business owners, why don't you ask how you could give bigger? Don't just give a product, get more involved. So like I said to the kids, you got to know what you're giving for. Because a lot of the time you ask, well, what is my money going to? And people don't even really know.
We've had that conversation a lot on the podcast with people who run nonprofits. Where does the money go? And And as a donor, how can I be sure that it's going to the right places, to the places that I would want it to go?
Yeah.
And it really is important to know that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and there's also a diversity in where people want it to go.
Right.
And like, there's the obvious stuff, and then there's a lot of stuff that's less top of mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't want to say the word boring, but there are a lot of charities that don't drive excitement and big events and big parties that people are like, look, those are the ones that really need it.
Right.
More than the others.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting because they may or may not want to drive towards, different areas of giving.
But I tell this to young business owners all the time. So here's a perfect example. So I took the kids. She was building an indoor barn so they could keep the facilities for the winter.
Where is it?
It's in Bedford.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not here.
Didn't
in
you grow
Greenwich.
up there?
Yeah.
Well, no, Bedford is a bordering town.
Oh,
It's a
I
border
like
town.
this. My
There it
husband's
is.
always like, it thinks it's in Africa.
No.
So we go.
It borders Connecticut. Great.
Well, growing up there, a lot of people in North Street used Bedford as their town.
My parents do. We did. Yeah. I mean, we take the kids to see the movies at the Bedford
Yeah.
Playhouse every time we go to the movies.
I know
love
we're in Greenwich, but
Great restaurants. Yeah, it's a very quaint. It's like a vacation because it's so nice and quiet, and I love that we don't know that many people up there versus here.
It's nice going.
It's nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
it's-
meet new people.
yeah.
And so anyway, we went to the farm, and the girls asked so many questions. It was so cool. And they said, and so then I got a picture of what the barn was going to look like, and I made them cups for their lemonade stand, and they popped up and did this lemonade stand. And if you could hear their marketing skills that they learned.
These
Like,
10-year-olds?
These 10-year-olds were like, okay, like we are raising money today for this barn right here because this, and that. And it was like, okay, there's your work. Like,
deep
like you don't
connection.
always need to give the money. Like I always say, like there's check writers and then there's cheerleaders, and there's got to be someone out there telling the story. So you don't always have to think. Small business owners are like, Brooke, how do you get so involved with these charities? I'm like, I give my time.
Right.
And I think that's an important thing to remember. There's got to be somebody out there cheering for these nonprofits too. So that's an easy way to give back. And it was really cool, full circle. Last couple weeks ago, one of the little girls won the Greenwich Community Award for there's a child from each school. And the mom called me and said, will you come and watch her be honored? So that was so cool because she wrote about that experience. So full circle, you can really make impact.
Well, especially on the next generation about kindness
Now to bring back to you,
and connection.
Oh,
when you have a charity or you have something that you want to produce a product like what you just brought us tomorrow, what are the logistics to get that? I'm always curious of the back end.
You know what?
stuff.
Let's take the hat, for example. So you have so many products that you offer on your website, but this hat kind of it really has gone viral.
Yeah.
It's made it onto Oprah's O list. It was on the Tamara Hall show. That's what Tamara Hall this morning was talking about, this hat. You can customize it with your initials. You're doing an American flag version for the weekend with your initials. I wear this hat all summer long. It really, truly is. I've given it as a gift. My mom has one. She gardens all the time. Another friend. I mean, how does it go
It's a great gift for bachelorette parties and things like that because of the price point.
Right. But how does it go?
Yeah, so I mean, I assume you have a ton of these on stock. You would throw it through a machine. What's the timing? I'm just so curious of the logistics. You need a hat in 2 hours. What happens?
So basically, I should invite you guys over to the studio. Oh, Lindsay's been there. You have to go.
You do.
So basically, we stock all these hats. You find a hero product, which is what we call, and I kind of laugh about sometimes too, because now I'm a hat vendor. But
so many hats.
this is our hero product. And
Caps for sale.
Yeah.
One of my favorite kids' books.
I know. Yeah, we do have. Lindsay must have made.
This is an older one. Well, I got one of the first versions.
Oh yeah,
This-
she was. Yeah,
I
she
am.
was,
I'm a cheerleader. I'm a cheerleader.
yeah.
You cut it out. Nobody knew where it's.
And so it's actually it's really cool now. So one of the big things, again, constantly evolving and changing your business. I started with one website, and I realized over time I started taking notes on what was happening. And one of the biggest things was that I thought everybody wanted to make their own thing, but it's hard if you don't see it. So our new website now, you could go on and the letters pop up and you could see the color play.
Well, so that's my biggest challenge. We just talked about this before you walked in the door because Scott was saying his wife will consult people for colors. I said, so will I. I cannot pick colors. I'm very overwhelmed. You picked those colors for me because you said, what are your favorites? I said, blue, done. And I love it so much. But I love that you can now see it.
Yeah.
If I could see it, I'd
Okay,
be
but
better.
back to boring. Where do you like how you get the hats?
Yeah.
You got the machine. It just throws in the machine and it's like quick and done. But how did you?
Well, there are humans that do it too.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm more thinking like back, business process. You find vendors that make these all
Yes.
over. You find the best quality, pricing, and all of that. I mean,
it's
starting this off can't be as easy as it sounds.
It's it's hard, and you're constantly chasing a calendar, which is sort of funny because by the time things get here, I've seen it for so long. You're like, oh, it's that new. So really, like right now, we're working on spring, summer of next year.
Okay.
Your calendar. I mean, I wish I could be even further out. Like because what happens now is we are starting wholesaling, so you have to be. People are going to market to buy. The next season. So
so the wholesale, you've got businesses with you that are already a season ahead. They have to be for how much stock they hold.
So basically, like in January, you buy for Christmas. It's really like a long calendar out which is helpful too. So like now that we're doing the wholesale, it's like you go to the market and you send your stuff, and then it helps you decide how much you want to buy of each product.
And you have to predict trends. Right.
But there's a lot of risk involved. And that's where the hard part comes in. From an inventory standpoint, in the beginning, like I kind of made small things and I would see. And a lot of the times I wear it around and I'm like this necklace. I started wearing this necklace around. I'm like, I'm going to see if anybody takes any interest in this.
I haven't really taken that.
Like, oh, Brooke, that's such a great necklace. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is good. Or like the hat. Like I'd always thought that it was really fun. A lot of people painted on them. I was nervous about the paint coming off. So one of my friends
started with painting, didn't it?
No. Because that's another thing is that because I'm primarily shipping, is I want to make sure I test all the products so that I'm not getting a lot of people shipping things back.
Right.
That I really, stand by all the products. So I really tested these. And so then we made a bunch for a friend of mine's little sister that was going on her bachelorette party. And she's like, oh my gosh, Brooke, they went to Harbor Island. Everyone on the island was calling us the Hat Girls, the Hat Girls. And I was like, this is so fun. And then we started making more and more. And then the customer really named it the Hat of Summer.
Right.
And then like Katie Kirk had it and then Oprah picked it. And then it was a People magazine. And it just,
no big deal.
And now it's just like, and then it was on the Tamara. So it continues. And just when you think that this product is, sometimes had its time, like it's still, the hats are back, like it's summer and we are shipping. So that's why they decide that this is a hero product.
I've purchased hats like this that are painted with Wisconsin because, maybe a couple too many drinks that fell apart 2 minutes later. All of your stuff is built in a different quality. And like, I assume are you traveling all over to find the right hat? From
my background,
yeah.
I have a lot of contacts with factories overseas that I know the process. And there's, some factories don't do the proper testing for color safety and things like that. So
because it's all folded over. Like, each, I don't know how to describe it, but they're all built.
Yeah,
it's built to a different level than the hats that I've seen.
Yeah,
I'm just curious, how do you get that? Like, that's got to be...
So it is. It's product development.
Yeah.
And it's not the first hat sample you get. Like, we've been working really hard to launch a children's version of this. And I'll be honest, like, the first time we got the hat back, it was like, so they just cut this, right? And there was this big mold. And I was like, no, like, this part has to be small too.
Right. The head part for the child.
He basically just, like, made it like, I'm like, no.
Their heads are up there.
There's a big process. And listen, I'm a small shop, but because I ask a lot of questions, I learned a little bit about a lot. So I know a little bit about tech design. I know a little bit about design. I know a little bit about fabrications. And I kind of just, ask a lot of questions. I'm grateful that I have a lot of close friends still in the industry. And, but, like a Vineyard Vines, they have a product development team. They have a technical team that once they develop the product, the technical team makes sure everything's fit especially with clothing. And then it goes into the production team, which then like the production team, you get like one of each size, and they have to make sure that like the whole run is correct before it goes into production, that all the lab dips are approved, that all the testing's been approved, and then you go on to produce. And that's why you need this long calendar of time.
Right.
To produce these products.
And people only see what they see. You see the finished product in a store or on someone's head or shirt or body, and you think, oh, well, that's a nice shirt. That's a nice hat. You have no idea that it's been years in the making.
Yeah.
Well, and in business school, we spent a lot of time going over supply chain management and, the inventory levels, how much you hold, the risk levels of that because the product changes and everything. And I mean, how many batches are you, in one order? Are you ordering 1,000, 2,000, 100? Like,
yeah, a lot. We order quite 10,000 hats.
Okay.
And basically, you're right. And I think what's really hard for a lot of these brands today, and it's sad, is that these fast fashion places can produce things so quickly. I mean, even me, like, sometimes I get pushed off the production lines in these places because they get an order from one of those fast fashion places that they can make quickly and make a lot of money on. And it's hard to be the little guy and make quality product and these,
Well, especially from a sustainability standpoint, which I know you care about and we talk a lot about, because the fashion industry is damaging to the earth. Like, how much does sustainability play a role in what you choose?
Well, it's interesting. Just this last 2 years, I've joined a committee. It's called Well-Beings, and it's People, Ocean, Planet. And I've been really lucky what I really love about this nonprofit is it's hands-on, like you said earlier. They don't have big galas and parties. They take us to, so last year, my first adventure, we went down to the British Virgin Islands, and we went with the scientists, and they show us what was happening to the mangroves in these islands and why they're so important. Yeah. And they really educate us. So again, talking about cheerleaders, they are educating all the community to really speak to this, all the issues that are happening. And it was really cool. We also got to go to Richard Branson's island, which
I have a friend that was just there, and of course he couldn't stop posting the photo. I'm like, come on.
It was pretty.
But isn't Richard Branson deeply involved in the well-being?
So he actually
charity?
Came.
Okay.
He has a big nonprofit, British Virgin, BVI.
Virgin Air.
It's no. He gives to a lot of the local charities and to help the mangroves. And he came out with us and he got on his hands and knees and he was planting them with us. And then we got to go to his island for lunch, which was really great. But full circle there too. Everyone was sort of promoting their businesses and things, but I was really lucky because everyone was wearing my hats.
That's awesome.
Because it's such a necessity in the sun.
And apparently they're really hard to get down there because it's really hard to bring things down there. And so the woman that runs the little shop at Necker Island called me and was like, "We'd like to have your hats in our shop," which I never thought, how cool. I mean, here I was planting mangroves.
Well, in shipping these, they're big, they're hard to do that. When you ship groups, they obviously, I assume, nest.
Yes.
So, and
they have these big, tall boxes.
Yeah.
And that's what's been really fun that's another thing that I love about my brand, and I say this all the time, is I am not in competition to a lot of these other brands. A lot of brands, can't pop up with other people but we're an added value to anything. Yeah. So it's really fun. I've worked with the New York Rangers. I've worked with Absolute Vodka. I did something with De Beers Diamonds, which I couldn't believe.
Crazy.
I worked with
initials on the diamonds.
No, it was really cool. They brought us in because we also have a truck that we go around and we can do things on site, which is really fun. And now we have the monogram machine for the jewelry, which I'm super psyched about for the summer.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about these hearts.
Yeah.
This is the big one you can see on camera. And we're both wearing the small one. I really don't take it off. And you can engrave. I have love on mine, but you can write whatever you want. And yours says...
So this is what I really love about these is that you could put your monogram on this one and then you could write a message to someone to wear inside their heart. But what's so great is most people have been wearing the message outside.
I love that.
We did this for a fashion event and it says, "You are beautiful just the way you are." And a lot of the girls are really wearing them this way because it's something to be,
proud
remember. Of. But I've also I sent one to a friend that always says disability is an ability. And she also proudly wears it that way. So,
And I love that you're doing this too.
I think that's something unique about these is that you can write these messages to people. So we're really fortunate we get to work with a lot of different people, and again, meeting a lot of people, and that takes you back to
yes,
keeping those.
Well, the De Beers event. Sorry to get back to that. Was there were you tell me? I was there. I just
What were you monogramming for today?
yeah.
so cool. So they like put all this jewelry on me. I never felt so fancy. And
you looked really beautiful.
In our machine, it was a really fun night, and they had 100 of their like best customers, and they gave them these gorgeous leather bags,
There we go.
and we put their initials on them.
Like gold embossed.
And like when we do
Is that embossed or is that?
no, we brought the big machine and stitched in.
Okay.
And to your point about production, so when we do things like that, I say to the team, okay, we have 100 people. Your event's 2 hours. You want everyone leaving with this bag. So the only thing that we can offer you is one color, like to be able to have every person.
You know the time, you know when it comes in, how long it's going to, I mean, it's
Yeah.
supply chain on a little mini
Like
event.
they can't just go like, here, I want an F with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Like it has to be like a
It was very
really
dialed
quick
in.
process. Like you walk over, you say, these are your initials. This is what it's going to look like. This is the color. And like, yeah, you get a couple people that are like, oh, but I really love the color red. And like, you know, we try to, you know, help whoever wants what.
Can people bring outside stuff to your shop to do? And
Listen-
I assume you stopped doing that. Are you know?
Listen, it's not, and I always say this to people because I feel really bad. I hate saying no. But the problem is like, to your point about production.
Yeah.
All of our products that we have, we've tested to make sure that the monogram lays flat, that, you know, how it's monogrammed, that it does, to your point. You're right. I forget this because we have mastered each product.
Yeah.
We know exactly where, how big it's going to be, what people are going to get. When you bring in a product that we've never stitched before, you can do everything right on the machine, and sometimes the machine eats it.
Yeah.
And so you just brought me your baptism gown with 18 grandchildren's name on it. Like, no, thank you. Like, it's just really, or like
And
people
I'm
bring.
thinking simple stuff like a shirt or whatnot. Would you be willing to do it, or would you want to?
You know,
I mean,
it's kind of
just
case by case.
Yeah.
Like we do have like a disclaimer that people can write, but that, you know, that if something happens to this, but it's really hard. Like, so that's why we try to listen to the things that you're bringing in and try to make those products that you're not looking for. But I'm also really happy to recommend other people that do that, like the guy over here on the corner right here, ASI. He's great. He loves to take outside products. And I'm happy to do that. There's enough monogramming in the world for everyone.
Right. Well, even I remember this hat again. This was very first gen. This was one of the first hats, and you did all three of my initials. And at this size, it didn't lay flat, so we couldn't. You couldn't use that.
Yeah,
you couldn't
there's
do
a
that.
learning curve.
So it's like, okay, we need to shrink the letters and back to perfecting the product and knowing what works and what doesn't. That's just
well, I'm also thinking there's a holiday coming up that you guys, I don't know if you've heard about, because
something about
because
I forget,
there was
celebrating
Mother's Day and
dads
there's another.
or- right.
I mean, it's you know once
the one that's in like the nice weather.
Yeah, the one that's in the nice weather.
the one that nobody remembers.
Right.
And
The one that's in the months where it's a little bit more calm and not as much going on
well, and so
for parents. Right. So you really get to enjoy it.
for me, thank you very much. Where are the guy products?
What can you explain the burgees? Can you explain what this is?
They're nautical flags.
Nautical flags. They're not burgees.
They're not
Okay, what's a burgee then?
The others,
the other side.
Right. Okay.
You know, and so,
Right.
and that's actually really a burgee, right?
Yeah.
Right. We have burgees hanging. So the nautical flags represent something.
Letters.
And why do they use the nautical flag?
So, you know, back in the day when they're trying to signal, they have the entire alphabet. They've got protests. They have SOS. They have like a series of nautical flags so they could put up on a boat to say something to someone else. So it did not
So
start.
cool,
It
right?
did
That
not
is so
start
cool.
with my initials on a bag.
It didn't?
No,
I was just thinking it looked cool.
it's a
really
it's a communication thing when you go on to certain boats and stuff. But bringing it home, guy products. I think you need to have a golf shirt.
Signal, Scott.
Yeah.
Stop
Signal.
Lindsay, now you
Scott's
can sit
coming.
over here.
Yeah.
So
Signal
I'm just using this as a signal. You can't use it as a Dopp kit or for any of your plugs. And
I thought he could put it on his boat.
Oh, no,
like
it's great.
Band-Aids,
Band-Aids,
product care.
snacks.
sunscreen.
6 packs of,
We need.
if anything.
We're launching coolers.
Ooh.
Fired up about those. The coolers are coming. That's a great Father's Day gift. We have really awesome aprons that I give to fathers.
Oh, I made one for Seth one year with the kids' handprints on it.
Yeah.
That was really awesome.
Hands down, best dad.
Hands down, best dad.
Did you really say that?
No, we took prints.
Sound best dad.
Yes. It was there. And by the way, now my kids' hands are 3 times the size that they were when we made this apron 6 or 7 years ago. And it's the cutest thing.
That's
It's like,
kind of fun, right?
yeah, it was fun.
Or yeah, we do that too, where your child could draw a picture and you bring it in and we could put it on a product, which is kind of really special to remember. Or
Teacher gifts too. We're in teacher gift world. So Father's Day, teachers gifts.
And we do a lot with like cocktail napkins for dads with like, the 18th hole or
Tee it
we've
up.
actually done some we've done some really fun cocktail napkins, though, especially with different logos of places.
Disposable or what?
We do both. We have paper and showerproof cups, and we also have cotton napkins. But it was recently a customer said to me, which I think is so true. She's like, I love the paper napkins because they look more elevated, and they're not like dinner napkins where people like using them for their face. So like they look so pretty on your boat, and like not a lot of time people use them. So like you don't have to wash them that frequently, and they look so much more elevated than a paper napkin.
Right. Wait, which one? The
cocktail-
linen? The linen?
cocktail
Yeah.
napkin.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
The ones you keep. I mean, I assume for paper, you're not actually stitching those. You're just
No,
embossing them or
those are printed. Yeah, those are.
The linen like coaster situation. It's like almost like a coaster. You would use it as a coaster,
Yeah.
coaster situation.
right?
Yeah, for your cocktail
For your cocktail.
or food.
Yeah.
We do a lot of those for weddings. That's another big.
Yeah, talk
Big-
to us about your biggest events and stuff.
And so, God, there's so much I could talk about. That's what's so fun about Monogram Mary is that's not like one of the best things I love too is that we like grow with the customer. So a lot of people like, you either grow out of a brand or, you get older or you transition from a brand or whatever happens. And with ours, it's like, so I'll meet someone that's just getting married, and then you usually meet like their grandparents and like, because everyone's buying gifts and people come in or call, and then like they have their first baby, and then like you meet more of their family and like you remember their wedding and they send you pictures and then they're having babies and then their friends are having babies and then the grandparents are and like, so it's like, like your mom will
Full
call
cycle.
me like,
Yeah.
And like you really grow up with these families and like, from doing their bachelorette parties and then seeing them have their first kids. And it's like, it really is such a beautiful, now like most people just like, just have Brooke pick out the colors. Like, and I
That's
do
what
like,
you just tell me.
Well, my mom got all of the girls in the family your big beach totes.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's a vinyl beach tote, and they have our initials, but you can put anything on them. Like I've seen on your Instagram, which we all follow, which you're doing such an amazing job with, and I know you do that. People think that someone does that.
I
for
know.
You
I do
still
all my
do
PR
that. Yeah.
and do all my marketing. We really are a small shop.
But wait, okay. So you do all your Instagram. Is that who's filming it, or is that literally
depends.
you?
I have
On a
one of
stand.
those things that
That's
you
it.
Yeah.
And then an editor cleans it up. I mean,
No,
or
I
it's
do it all.
But it's framed like you
What?
got the lighting figured out. Like we're trying to learn.
Really?
That stuff.
Oh, I don't know.
Your stuff looks professional.
Hanging out with a lot of tastemakers and influencers, I learned so much from them.
Little
Like
stuff, yeah.
little things about like having an uplight like you guys have, or like recently I realized like, okay, if you're like taking a photo, you should like walk, not like when you just stand, you're so awkward. But you'll see if you like start to walk, it makes you like look.
Or have a little prop like a mini mic.
So you're by yourself.
I
I mean, I
Absolutely
feel like
fine.
you had a team behind you every time.
I mean, I
Especially
wish.
the lighting.
I mean, sometimes I do bring people in, especially like for the De Beers. I had someone come in because that was like,
You needed someone to shoot that.
yeah,
You
because
couldn't do it.
they wanted that content on. So sometimes I do have people come and shoot. Lindsay's actually shot me before. And then sometimes I just, wing it. But I've learned, I ask a lot of questions. I was just at a wine tasting in Nantucket, and
I know.
it's like I detoured the whole wine tasting to like, well, how did you get started in this business?
But that story was so interesting. Well, and I think at the end of the day, I coach on how to best practices for social media now, and so much of the coaching that I do is just no one cares. You just have to put yourself out there. And because you're
traditional,
but you've also gotten into a groove. Go back to the first post and to now.
No.
That's just, I mean, to me, I don't know the difference. I don't know how to describe.
Right. Scott's looking at a video that Brooke posted yesterday
I need
this week.
it myself. But
lighting does help, but yeah, you've set it up in your studio. One thing that I wanted to ask when we first started, because I believe that this is very important and I want to shine a little light on it, but how did you name the business?
Yes. Oh, yes. So I named it after my mother-in-law, Mary, who I believe, especially after becoming a mom, she sadly passed away from ALS, and I wanted to continue to share her story. And I believe Monogram is a memory, and I felt like it was the perfect way to continue to carry on her legacy and talk about her. And it's been really cool because people have written into me, talk about a small town, Greenwich. I've had somebody sent me like a pair of gloves that they gave her once when the boys were in high school, and said like, I used to sit in Mary's kitchen, and told me all these stories. And I've gotten her college roommate sent me this Hermes scarf that she gave her. Like, I've just gotten all of this outpour of stories of her, and it's so beautiful. And it's especially beautiful for my boys since they didn't get to meet her. So.
Right. And your husband's one of 3 boys that their mother raised, and
in this town.
It was an amazing woman. And
yeah. And so that's really cool to hear those stories. And again, that's like what monogramming is about. Like, why are you wearing those initials? Like, I usually have my grandmother's necklace on. And where did that necklace come from? Oh, this was my grandmother. So it, it creates a story and shares a memory at the same time that you could tell about. So like, why are you wearing your ring today?
Right.
Like,
my ring was my grandmother's. And I think about my mom as a really amazing needle pointer, and has created all of these incredible needlepoint pillows for the kids, and needlepoint, all of our Christmas stockings are custom done by my mom, and the time that it takes and the thought that goes into it.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful memory.
All day long. Once a week I make the boys, they're not allowed to do anything. They have to create something with their hands and give it to someone.
I love that.
And it's so cool. Like, think about how good it feels when somebody brings you something that you made. Like,
well, and we're at the end of the school year here. I have 2 kids. You have 2 kids. We all have 2 kids, actually. And I'm always racking my brain about teacher gifts, and I'm married to a teacher, and I always ask my teacher friends, what are your favorite gifts? And at the end of the day, every single one of them has answered with something that a kid has drawn me or written me.
Yep.
Because there's nothing more special looking back and remembering the time in their lives that you spent helping to develop them. And that's where they were. My son loves to draw. He's an artist. And Lily loves to write. And so that's their job in this next week as we say thank you to the teachers. Yes, I'm giving them gifts as well, but I want the kids to create something for them to say, hey, this is how you affected my life this year. And thank you.
To all 3 people listening, give back to your teachers. I mean, it's important.
Yes.
It's really
they appreciate it. Gift cards.
It's really important because they're the real heroes. Like, at Christmas, I always look at my Christmas tree and I'm like, look at these ornaments the teachers made.
Yeah. Right.
With them.
With the kids.
They did something.
And thank you. Yeah. And thank you for dealing with our kids all day, every day.
How many people call you Mary?
I mean, it happens all the time. And again, it gives me an opportunity to tell my brand story.
Right.
So,
right.
But I probably confused more people than I should.
But it's a fun story.
Yeah, it is. It's a great story. And Instagram's so wild. I've met so many of my connections over Instagram. Like, Katie Serino, who I could scream from. She's so amazing, inspiring to me. We met over Instagram. And
she was just on Oprah.
Yeah.
And she is, talk about cheerleaders. Katie Storino, who has a brand called Mega Babe and has a real voice in the online community and in the world. But she has been advocating for healthy body image for women, especially. And she has been your biggest cheerleader since the day you met her, with no pretense, no money exchange, just like, I love you and your brand. And I want to, she's always posting. She's got a massive following. Yeah. And she was just asked to be on Oprah.
I ask her questions all the time, and she's so generous with her time. I'm always like, how do you have time to answer me? And she was just on Oprah. And so she's on this charity with me. This is actually a funny story. And we have this group chat, like, we need to have a meeting this week. And she's like, I'm really busy this week. Do you think it could be next week? We're like, really busy on Oprah. Like, I mean, like, I'm really busy this week. I'd be telling my dry cleaner's my friend, like I'm real busy because I'm on Oprah. Like, not like I'm busy with, like, this stuff.
Well, and on to social media, tricks on how you built your presence so big?
Well, you know, I would say, just don't compare. Like, don't, you know,
Yeah.
don't compare to other people's stuff, and just, like, genuinely be you. Don't make, like, I don't think life can be so perfect. Like, yes, some people do live this really beautiful life that looks so beautiful, but, like, I try to share it all. Like today, I share that I was really nervous to come here. I think people are going to relate to you if you are yourself. And don't make
content.
Yeah, don't. I wish I could get on more. Like, you know, like Katie is a perfect example. She gets on every day. She's like, good morning, this and that. And, like, I wish I could share more about, like, you ask questions. I wish I could get on and be like, oh, yeah, and this and this. But, you know, there's a little bit of, like, oh, do people really want to hear this? Or,
right.
But they do. They really want, the more that I share about the business, I think the more trust you create in your product. I think people like to know where they're shopping from. I truly hope and believe that, you know, people buy. I'm not the only person that makes a hat or a necklace. I think people buy from you because, like,
well, and you're out there, and you know, you're all over Instagram and, you know, the other venues, and you're out there, so you're top of mind.
And I think showing up for other people at things, you know, going to things and meeting,
building relationships. Right.
You know, in the beginning, I really went to everything. And I think about that in age too. Like, in my 20s, like, I just read somebody, I think it was Jesse, what's his name, wrote about how in your 20s, like, don't try to, like, master everything. Just, like, figure out what you're good at. Like, try everything. Say yes. Like, don't be afraid about the people in your 20s that make a lot of money. Like, just, like, find what you're passionate about, what you love about, and try everything. I feel like I really did that. I mean, I did everything. I worked at Lululemon. I always say, like, I worked everywhere. Like,
tried on all the jeans.
Town magazine here. I mean, I really did everything, so that when I started my business, and social media is a big part of it, like, I had learned a little bit about all these different things, and I'm really passionate about what I do, so I love.
No, and it shows online. I mean, it shows how excited you are.
Yeah.
I've never not seen you smile. I feel like you should.
But you really genuinely are that way all the time.
Yeah, it sounds like a pissed off morning. But, guys, I'm beat. I mean, you're always so put together and have that smile.
I don't know.
Yeah, give us that one morning where, like, this just.
I really try to think as positively as possible. Like, my brother-in-law will always say to me, like, I'm like, she's wonderful. But he's like, Brooke, you think everybody's wonderful and beautiful. Like,
but if
like, go on this date. He's like,
you can shift your mindset out of that negativity and have the ability to do that, then you really do see the world from a different vantage point, and it really is helpful. Not that you're being naive and knowing that there are not nice people out there and that there is bad stuff happening, but for you and what you're doing, for all intents and purposes, you put good energy out into the world, and it comes back to you. It really is an exchange. Totally. It's an energy exchange.
But I'm more trying to say, like, to associate, like, everyone has a shitty day. And so I'd love to see you and Kate just, like, wake up in the morning, like, you know, like, this is horrible, my hair, I'm not getting dressed up, and but that's where I was.
Well, and everyone shows, the majority of us show what the good stuff is on social, because you also don't want to necessarily film everything in your life and share everything, because that gets exhausting too. It's like you also have a life and kids and a business to run. So it's hard to share. It's
hard to know what to share. Yeah. And, like, with everything always changing on social media, like, you know, I asked Lindsay a lot, like, do you show your kids? Do I go on too much? Do I show more product? It's hard though, because, like, if you look at, like, what people are watching, they're watching when I'm on it, but I'm like, is it becoming more of, like, not, I want to show more product.
Right.
But you also have two channels.
Trial and
error.
You
have your personal side and then you have business. So obviously business is curated here to, you know, to showcase you and what you've built. And then the personal side is personal.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where, you know, we've talked about that. We've talked about.
Well, and as an entrepreneur, it's hard because your personal life and your business life do weave. They merge. There's so much one and the same. I mean.
You are Mary.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is, that challenge is real in knowing, like, how much do I share of my life with my kids? I've had people write me to say, are you ever with your kids? on my Instagram account.
Goodness.
And I'll say, well, of course. I'm not even answering that.
Yeah.
I don't have to share the moments where I'm with my children every other second of the day. I love being with my kids. I value that time, and I don't necessarily record all of it. Although now they love recording, it's fun to do together. It's funny and fun. Yeah. But that there is a fine line with entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Of how much of your life itself you can share versus just the stuff that's work related.
Well, and to the viewer, especially talking to people that are new to the town and getting, centric back to Greenwich, is they see the curated. They see the big events. They see people that are out there. They see businesses like us. There are people that aren't there doing the stuff that they're doing. Like, you don't have to be at those big events. This is not, my Instagram is not all my life. It's what I choose to share.
Right.
But yeah, life's a little harder than what I share.
Right.
And
of course.
I'm not saying misery loves company, but like this isn't our lives. It's a portion of it.
Right.
And it's what we want to share. But, to those that are coming into the town that get really intimidated by all of this, you're just seeing the top of the iceberg.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I did this really cool event in Palm Beach. It was Nantucket Historical Society, and Palm Beach Historical Society. And it was like old world people were being interviewed. And then the Palm Beach lady was like, Palm Beach is about walking around barefoot and your kids running in the sand. Like, that's how we grew up here. Like, but everybody comes to look at the homes. Like we used to send coconut messages in the mail. Like,
everyone thinks you can't go down Rodeo Drive without, or what,
you need
Main
$10
Street
million
on Palm Beach.
house. And misconceptions about Greenwich.
I was just going to
it's
bring
$10
that
million
back.
house.
Right.
It's all that. No. There is a whole other section that's
Right.
not online. And frankly, a lot of those people don't choose to be online.
Right.
And that's fine. So, yeah.
Well, and that's why I love that you guys are doing this and bringing in so many young entrepreneurs. And it's so important to share that about our town, that there are these, especially, being born and raised here.
Right.
It's so
And
cool.
Scott.
The both of you were born and raised. I just
And I ran from Greenwich. I fully ran in high school and came back for a lot of, frankly, the misconceptions. And
But I'm so grateful to live here, to be raising my kids here. Next week, we're interviewing a guy who runs the Family Centers, which is an organization that I just learned, having lived here my entire life, has been around since 1891. And the work that they do in our community is, we'll dive in next week, but I feel so grateful to be able to learn from these people that are doing that work in our town, helping so many people like you are. And so, that's why
another one I just joined the board of is the Village Community Foundation. Quickly, I'll just tell you a bit about it.
I'm fine. I just forgot.
Is that
the Village in Stanford.
It's the Village in Stanford, and what's really cool about it is they're starting like a mentorship program where, again, we have all these incredible people in our town that, can give these kids such an opportunity. And Brent Montgomery, one of the founders with his wife, Courtney, said, wouldn't it be so cool to be in a grocery store and like a kid come up to you and be like, you're the reason why, like, I made it.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Because you took you donated some of your time to me.
I was just there last week. It's incredible. It's incredible the work that they do. And are you talking about the dinner thing that they've put together?
Oh,
the
yeah.
mentor?
And so that's a part of the Village Foundation, too, is the Separate Club. So there's three parts. It's the arts, the food and chef, culinary, and then the mentorship program with the students that we're launching this year.
It's so cool. Again, bordering town.
That's all Greenwich?
Bordering town. Stanford, Bedford. I'm so glad that you're doing that, too. You're a busy little lady.
Yeah, I do talk about that a lot, just being a business owner. I think it's an obligation that you should give a little bit of your time to
back to the community.
Yeah, that we're in. And my father always told me that his father, came over, and my kids just did a report at school, and it was really fascinating, actually, to hear about, my grandfather. And my dad was saying how his thing that he gave back is he gave back Christmas trees, and then we've hundreds and hundreds of Christmas trees for years and years to the town, to everyone in town. Cool. And I was like, Dad, that's so cool. Like, I never heard that story before. Why'd he do that? And he's like, because he really, and there's all these community awards around the house from my grandfather. And he's like, because he really wanted to build the community. He felt it was really important that where he lived for, his kids and his children's kids. And
Fun fact, our grandfathers worked together.
Another crazy thing
That we learned.
circle.
Their family was in landscaping and my family was in contracting, and they did our grandparents did a number of jobs together back in the day that my parents told me about when I met Brooke. They said, Labriola, Pop-Up worked with them. It was so crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Around
Isn't
all
that
over,
crazy?
all over New
amazing.
York
Yeah.
and Connecticut. And I mean, really cool.
That's why you got to be nice to everybody.
You have to be nice to everybody. Well, I'm just so grateful that you took the time to come here and sit with us and tell us your story, because we
Thank you.
love.
I feel like I rambled
everything
on a
you do.
bit. But
That's our entire podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, and we get feedback.
We're gonna
Like,
open up with Led Zeppelin's "Ramble On" from here on out.
Sure.
Well, Brooke, thank you so much for being here.
Guys,
We really
thank you for
appreciate your
being here.
time.
Thank you for what you're doing for the community.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for what you do for the community.
So how do you find the people? Like, do I suggest some people?
You could suggest some.
Yes.
We've had a number of people apply. You can apply online. So you can either send us a message on our Instagram or email us info@greenwichct.com. And thank you for asking. But you can request that you think the right people. We do have a process by which we ask everyone that wants to be on the podcast to answer a little questionnaire, just because we need to vet. We have a lot of people interested, which is so cool for us. But we do want to vet. We only record once a week. So we do want it to be.
Wow.
Yeah, but we also offer now these
What episode
shorts.
is this?
So this is episode 15. This will be episode 14 or 15.
Well, I feel really grateful to be on this. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. I feel so grateful to be the 15th episode.
Well, we are so psyched. And
guys
thank you for bringing these.
Yeah.
Really awesome. We didn't really. Do you have your jacket?
Good
Kate,
gifts.
can you grab me that jacket, Kate?
No, it's okay.
Can we just please show this jacket really quickly?
Get some good gifts when you do these.
Brooke is making these jackets now, and they're so pretty. Kate, you
Is
need
that
one
what
of
Megan
these.
was wearing? This?
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
Megan. Your wife has one of these. I have one from the winter collection, the velvet version. But look, there's your tag right on it, and it's got these beautiful prints on the inside, and it's super lightweight cotton for summer, and it's the perfect layer. Don't you call it?
It's called the perfect layer because I really, like you said, why do I start products? I look for things in the marketplace that I can't find. And I couldn't find a jacket that wasn't a jean jacket in the summer. Cause I know this sounds like different problems, but you can't wear jean jackets to country club.
You can't. It's true. I've been yelled at.
A very embarrassing fact.
I've been yelled at.
So I couldn't find like a jacket that I could didn't feel so heavy. And so that's why I really started it in white. And then we started launching the prints.
And you monogram the sleeves
And
or
we
anywhere
monogram.
that people want them to be monogrammed.
Yeah, because everything's better with a monogram.
I mean, I put locals only on the back. Just kidding.
Well, too, I would like to give your listeners a gift.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could give them
The three of them?
special code.
We were just starting this. I just said this to Scott yesterday. We need to ask everyone that comes on if they want to offer something special to our listeners. If you've made it this far.
The code is going to be, see,
Right?
this is going to be,
You're not going to get a lot of phone calls.
we're going to call it Good Listener.
Yeah, I love that.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Good listener. And what does the code get them?
And they get 20% off of their purchase.
Wow. I mean,
You listen to all
I'm telling Megan. She keeps ordering stuff. I'm like,
if she's got to listen to it, Scott, no cheating.
I love it. You're a good. Yeah, she has to listen. She does listen. She listens more than Scott does to the episodes.
this is my first episode yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you this. So my goddaughter was in Kate Truesdale's show.
Yes.
And
The 20th anniversary dance performance.
All about it.
And I was, I go every year. I'm a boy mom. And I am so excited to go to that show. But this is why your show's so important. So I had watched the episode with Kate and Frank where Kate described why she did the show in full circle of around
story.
town Greenwich. And my goddaughter was in the one that was Miller Motors. So I sent it to my friend Liz, who's now working for her family business, who would be a great person on this podcast because of their history. I sent it to my friend Liz and I said, oh my gosh, my goddaughter was in the Miller Motors show. And she was like, what is this? And I said, oh my gosh. And I forwarded her your podcast to tell her the story.
Thank you.
Because I just listened to Kate explain it on your podcast.
Thank you. I love that story. And also full circle, last night I was out to dinner and someone said, I love that heart necklace. And my friend Brooke who owns Monogram Mary, is selling them now. And it is my favorite necklace. And every time I wear it, someone says something positive. I had a little girl say to me, do you know that you have the word love around your neck twice? She said, I love that. And I was like, I just love, we could keep saying love all day long. But it really is all about supporting one another. And our businesses, we're all just doing our best. We're just doing our best out here. Well, thank you. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Messier, for being behind the scenes and helping us with everything. Thank you for listening to Building Greenwich. We will be back next week. Thank you, Brooke. And visit monogrammary.com for all of your gifting needs and to leave an imprint on someone's life. Make an impact. Buy some Monogram Mary. Ciao.